Hello and welcome to Kickoff with Casey. My name's Casey Patrick, and I know it's been a few weeks. I had a medical issue that I had to take care of, and I wasn't able to do the show. I've missed college football, really. I haven't been able to watch as much, and something that we're going to get into later with the ESPN and YouTube TV nonsense. I've actually lost the ability to watch a lot of the games that I watch. So I haven't been able to get as much college football in as I would have wanted the last 3 weeks or 2 or 3 weeks, however long I've been out. But luckily for you guys, I am back. And this is, of course, like I said, this is the first week in I think 2 or 3 that I've been able to do a show. But we've got plenty to talk about. And I probably should have wrote a few things over the past few weeks to talk about, but that's old news. Let's talk about last week. We're going to talk about Vanderbilt's come from behind win over Auburn. Texas A&M smokes Missouri. They might be the best team in the SEC, and by rankings, they've been given the number 1 spot. And then we're also going to talk about Indiana holding off Penn State. So we're going to get into all that, and like I said, we're also going to talk about the ESPN YouTube TV stuff. So make sure y'all don't go anywhere. We'll get right started. Welcome back to Kickoff with Casey. We're going to get started with the Vanderbilt game. Again, like I said, with YouTube TV and everything that went down with ESPN, I was able to catch the first little bit of the game. Or no, excuse me, I didn't get to see the first bit of the game. I looked at the score at one point, and it was 14-3, and Auburn was trying to score again. And I thought, man, if Auburn keeps putting it on, Vanderbilt may find themselves in a tough spot. Well, lo and behold, I found a TV later that night on Saturday night, and I was able to find the end of the Vanderbilt game. And of course, Vanderbilt came back, won 45-38, I think was the win. I wrote it down right there. Yeah, 45-38 over Auburn. So good for Vanderbilt. Diego Pavia continues to show that he's a gamer. He's a winner. A lot of credit to him. A lot of credit to that football team. There's a lot of stuff up until maybe the last few minutes of the fourth quarter that I didn't get to watch. So as far as Vanderbilt's actual comeback and all that, hey, more power to them. Now I will say towards the end of that game, Vanderbilt had 4th and 1 coming up. And, they called an option with Diego Pavia. And, it's not really a bad idea, but he did trip over his own feet. And I was wondering to myself why they didn't kick a field goal there. Because I feel like it would have been like a 40-yard field goal around that. And I feel like the Commodores probably – I felt more confident in them winning the game if they would have kicked the field goal. Now, I'm not a Vanderbilt fan. In fact, I don't like Vanderbilt. I root actively against Vanderbilt. But you can't argue with the fact that they're a good team. Clark Lee, I think, is doing what he's supposed to do. He's trying to build up a program that, quite frankly, hadn't had a whole lot of support, I would say, at least from the Vanderbilt athletic department. And he's trying to do the best he can, and since he's gotten there, they've worked on that. They've started rebuilding or building that, renovating the stadium. They've invested more money into the NIL deals. They're doing what they have to do to win, and you're seeing the production on the field. So good for them. I do think it's funny that, of course, Memphis, they fell out of the top 25, and I don't think they were even in the first college football playoff ranking. And we're going to do the top 25 rundown like I had been doing, but we're going to use the AP poll for last week. Next week, I think there's, on Tuesday night, which I'm recording this before Tuesday night. On Tuesday night, they're going to give us the second iteration of the college football playoff rankings. When that comes out, I'll probably start using that going forward. But this week, just to keep up with the top 25, I wrote down the AP top 25 from last week. It may get a little bit confusing. Just know it's not really that important. What is important is the college football rankings that come out on December 7th. I believe that's a Sunday, December 7th. That's when they'll that's when you're actually going to see the final rankings and who gets in, who has bye weeks, and all that other stuff. But as far as last week, Vanderbilt got to come from behind win. Texas A&M, we'll move on to Texas A&M. I kind of thought, I didn't get to watch much of that game either. My college football has been thrown off tremendously by this whole Disney nonsense. But regardless, I didn't get to see much of the Texas A&M Missouri game, but I thought, I'm pretty sure the game was at Texas A&M. I could be wrong there, but I thought Missouri might have something for them. I don't really care for Drinkowitz, but I think he's got a decent program. I mean, they've been ranked all season long, or at least most of the season. They didn't have anything for the Aggies, though. And credit to Mike Elko, man. Florida State went out and got paid all kinds of... No, it wasn't Florida State. Who was it that... Yeah, Jimbo Fisher was at Florida State. He went to Texas A&M. They said they're tired of him winning 8 games a year, and they got rid of him. And went out and got Mike Elko. And I didn't really think that was... I didn't think that was a step forward. I'm not going to say that I didn't think he could win. I kind of felt like it was more of a lateral move. But, hey, credit to Marcel Reed, the Aggies. They're playing good football. Beat Missouri by 20 points, I think. 41-21. Yeah, I wrote it down right there. No, 41-21 was the Georgia game. Texas A&M. 38-17. So they won by 21 over Missouri. I kind of felt like the Tigers might have more for the Aggies than they did. And again, I didn't get to watch it. Maybe it's closer than 21 points. I doubt it. But if there's going to be any team that is from the old SEC West, and A&M really wasn't even in the ACC or SEC back in the day, if anybody over there is going to win, and it's not Arkansas, I'll take A&M. I think that's cool. They haven't lost yet. They're the number 1 team, just record-wise in the SEC, and they're the number 1 team as far as these rankings go. Now, Alabama and Georgia are right on their tail at 4-5. Of course, Alabama won 20-9 over LSU. That I got to see some of that game. That felt like it still wasn't like 2012, I think was the year, 2011. Maybe it was 2009. I'm getting old and I can't remember what I'm talking about. But those games back, 10, 15 years ago where they'd win whoever won 9-6 or, 14-7 or something. And the score is more like that. The game was more like the older games. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, when you watch guys like Tua and Joe Burrow go back and forth, that's a lot of fun. I like watching that. But Alabama holding off LSU, I think it shows, and the offense obviously scoring 20 points didn't have the greatest game they could have had, but they continue to win. They continue to make enough plays. Alabama's a good football team. I hate to say that. I kind of, I'm just like maybe most of you, at least some of you, when Alabama lost that game to Florida State early in the season, there was a part of me that really did think that it was over. And I don't think Alabama will ever return to Nick Saban's kind of dominance. I just don't think that's plausible. Yeah, I could be wrong. But I don't think they're ever going to return to being that dominant. But they've still got enough money. And the coaching staff, Kalen DeBoer, is still good enough, at least, to have them in the top 25. Beating teams like Tennessee, and they took down LSU. So they're still there. Also, Indiana holds off Penn State 27-24. I'm pretty sure Indiana led by a little bit more than that. Penn State tried to come back there at the end. There's always something weird about these teams that fire their coaches. They'll fire their coaches, and then they show up, and it's almost as if they're doing something completely different, or they're throwing off the team, at least enough anyway. And I don't really care. I'm okay with Penn State losing every game for the rest of eternity. But it does make it difficult. It makes it hard. It's just like Arkansas almost beat Tennessee. and which, hey, I mean, I know I talk about Tennessee a lot. They're 6-3 for a reason, or 6 and whatever. But it is tough. It is tough on these teams. And Fernando Mendoza, I think is his name, the quarterback for Indiana, he's kind of surged to the top of that Heisman ranking or the Heisman list. And I forget the name, but the Texas Tech coach made a really good point. I'm going to kind of go on a tangent here for a second. He brought up his linebacker, Jacob Rodriguez, who I saw in a game earlier this year, and I immediately said that I wanted the Titans to draft him as a linebacker. He is a legit playmaker. I've only seen Texas Tech play 2-3 games, and not even the full game, but at least part of 2 or 3 games this year. And Jacob Rodriguez is a legit first-round draft pick at linebacker. If you haven't seen him play yet, I suggest you just go on YouTube and watch a Texas Tech game. You're going to see one of, if not the best linebacker in the entire country. And the Texas Tech coach got up there and he said, we're handing out the Heisman to the best player in college football. He said something along the lines of, you can't tell me that Jacob Rodriguez is not the best player in college football. And I don't know if I can really disagree with him. Now, sure, you might have these guys like Ryan Williams or Jeremiah Smith that will go on and have these insane NFL careers, we hope, anyway. But as far as who's got the talent and who's playing well, Jacob Rodriguez at linebacker for Texas Tech, you need to go watch him because he's the real deal. Now, before we go too much further, we're going to take our first commercial break. Y'all make sure don't go anywhere. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about the CFP poll, a little bit of here, a little bit of this and that. We've got last week's AP Top 25. We're going to talk about upcoming games. And, of course, later on, we're going to do our Lock of the Week. All right, so don't go anywhere.
He shoots, and he scores! Yeah!
Got closer. All new Sportsbook, the latest gaming machines, live horse racing, and more. The Mid Gaming Hall, Kentucky Downs.
Winning just got closer.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
Welcome back to Kickoff with Casey. My name is Casey Patrick. We're gonna go ahead and get into just a little bit of the CFP poll. Now, again, like I told you guys, I wrote down the AP Top 25 just because that was the bookmark that I had on my computer. I started writing it down before I remembered that the CFP poll came out last week too. So if you get a little bit confused, just remember that I don't even know what I'm talking about half the time. So it'll be all right. Now, one of the weird things that I saw is in this AP Top 25 poll last week, Oregon was at number 6. Now in the college football playoff rankings, Oregon's number 9, I think. Now, of course, BYU was ahead of them. BYU lost to Texas Tech. Texas Tech they're good, and I think they lost 2 weeks ago. But BYU's going to drop. Oregon being at 9. Now, I know they only won by, I think, 2 to Iowa. Again, Kirk Ferentz, I'm pretty sure, is still at Iowa. They play good defense. They've got 17 tight ends. They're going to try to run the ball, have a low-scoring game. It's not necessarily the most fun brand of football. You could call it boring, but Iowa wins a lot of football games playing the way they do. And so they made that one close with Oregon. I'm not sure if Oregon's going to move up a whole lot from 9, but with BYU dropping out of the way at least a little bit for Oregon, you think they're probably going to move up. Now, other than that, the top 5 is basically the same. at least last week for the AP poll and the college football playoff rankings, Ohio State, who quite frankly is and should be considered the number one team in the country. I understand how good Indiana's been. I know what they're doing. When you look at the amount of money that Ohio State spends, the fact that they're coming off a national championship, it's just hard to argue with them being number one. I think Ohio State, they have shown that they're not necessarily perfect, but I do think they've been the most consistent, best team all year long. And I think they're going to hold on to that number one spot unless something unforeseen happens. Indiana in at number 2, which I love Kurt Cignetti. They went up to him during that Penn State game, and I'm not sure who the media person was, but she asked him, she said, Indiana's never won here. At Penn State, of course, Penn State's it looked like a whiteout. That stadium is wild whenever they're rocking like that. And Cignetti just looked at her and said, this team's never lost here. So I love his attitude. He is a little bit pretentious, kind of like I am. A little bit of a smart aleck, but I love it. And he's right. Like when he said, Google me, I win. He's done nothing but win at a very high success rate in Indiana since he's gotten there. And I think he was at James Madison before that. Maybe I just made that up. But he's been really good everywhere he's been at. And so good for them being at number 2. Again, we talked about A&M at number 3, Alabama at 4, Georgia at 5. And then after that, it gets kind of jumbled up. But we'll go ahead, I guess. Well, since I started, I guess we'll just go ahead and keep talking about it a little bit before I get into the ESPN YouTube TV nonsense. Of course, Ohio State 34-10 over Purdue. Indiana, the 3-point win we talked about over Penn State. A&M we talked about, it's a 21-point win over Missouri. Alabama we talked about, 20-9 over LSU. Georgia, this is 41-21 over Mississippi State. That's exactly what I thought that score was going to be. Georgia's defense is not as elite as it has been in the last few years, but it's still really, really good. One of the top 5 defenses in the country easily. But Mississippi State does a lot of things that are hard to stop. Mike Levy's doing a great job down there trying to build up the program. I loved Coach Leach. The fact that he passed away so tragically and so abruptly the way he did, it really threw Mississippi State off as a program. But they went out and they've got Mike Levy. He's another guy that's a part of that Oklahoma coaching tree with Josh Heupel and a few others. And, I kind of felt like State would score a few times on them. I kind of felt like it would have been more like maybe a 35-24 game. I thought State would be closer, but Georgia flexed its muscles kind of the way they should. Bulldogs are that good. That's why they compete year in and year out. Number 6 here again, AP poll. Oregon, we talked about the 2-point win over Iowa. Ole Miss, 49-0 over the Citadel. I only wrote Citadel. I should have wrote the. I apologize to anybody that may offend. BYU did lose. We talked about it for a second. 29-7 to Texas Tech. And, of course, in the AP poll, Texas Tech was number 9. So they won 29-7 over BYU. Notre Dame continues its the toughest schedule in the country. Took down Navy 49-10. Oklahoma was on a bye. They've got a huge game coming up this week. I think it's at Alabama. I wanted to check before I said it. I know I say a lot of things that sometimes are not correct, so I wanted to slow down before I said it and be wrong. Virginia lost to Wake Forest. Virginia is the most, other than maybe Florida State, Virginia is the most confusing team in the country. They're still ranked, by the way, at 20th, I think, in the AP poll. They're 20th in one of the polls. I'm not sure how. Texas also on a bye. They've got a huge game coming up at Georgia. Louisville lost 29-26 to California. I forgot California had a football team. I'm sure they're doing better than I expect them to be doing. But Louisville, again, a lot of these ACC teams, and it's something else that we should be talking about. A lot of these ACC teams are they're struggling. It looks bad for them for the or college football playoff rankings that are coming up. But regardless, lost 29-26 to California. Vanderbilt, we talked about the come-from-behind victory over Auburn, Georgia Tech on bye. Is Georgia Tech the best ACC team? Am I just forgetting somebody? Georgia Tech might be the best team in the ACC. Have at it, boys. I love it. Utah also on bye. I couldn't find their score anywhere. They may have not been on bye. If I'm wrong, let me know. Miami 38-10 over Syracuse. I feel like Miami's the best team in the ACC. I know Georgia Tech beat them. I don't care. I think Miami's better. If only there was some way to know. I know they played each other, and I think if Miami and Georgia Tech play each other 10 times at a neutral site, Miami wins 7, if not 8 times. Maybe I'm wrong. Moving on to Missouri, we talked about the 21-point loss to A&M. USC, 21-point win against Northwestern. Michigan had a bye. Memphis, 38-32, lost to Tulane. For a whole minute there, Vanderbilt and Memphis were both ahead of Tennessee, and all 3 teams were ranked. So Tennessee, while you could argue that they're the best team in the state, you could not have defended the fact that they were behind in the rankings, behind both Memphis and Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt deserves to be where they're at. I have not watched a down of Memphis football in probably 2 or 3 years. At least, if I did see it, it was against my will. Tennessee, of course, was on a bye. I say, of course, like you guys know that. I know that. Washington lost 13-10 to Wisconsin. Wisconsin's kind of up in the air. I wish Luke Fickell could figure it out there, but he went out and got a bunch of little skinny offensive linemen, and they've moved away from that run game, the Melvin Gordon, type of guys. They're not the same team that they used to be. In Cincinnati on a bye, but to get back to Wisconsin, they took down Washington 13-10, so good for them. Number 25, Cincinnati on a bye. We're going to take our last break. Please make sure you don't go anywhere. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about a few of these upcoming games, go a little bit more into detail about them. So stay here and hang out with us.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
He shoots, and he scores!
Got closer. All new Sportsbook, the latest gaming machines, live horse racing, and more. The Mid Gaming Hall, Kentucky Downs.
Winning just got closer.
Welcome back to Kickoff with Casey. My name's Casey Patrick, and we're just going to get into a few of the upcoming games. I was going to talk a little bit about the ACC, but I think I'm going to run out of time. One thing I did want to get into with the ESPN and YouTube TV, I see I'm already folding my arms. I am upset. It makes me angry that rich people who think they need another yacht are the ones that deciding that we shouldn't be allowed to watch college football. I'm actually sick and tired of rich people making decisions that affect the other 330 million Americans. Plus, there's 8 billion people on the planet trying to watch sports. There's no telling what way they're watching sports. But it's just stupid and ridiculous. You got to have 17 different apps. You've got to sign up for 30 different things. I love and appreciate the fact that you guys, whoever it is, even if it's nobody, even if I'm sitting here talking to myself, I think there may be one person on the other side of this phone that's watching me talk. And I appreciate you being here. Literally, from the bottom of my heart. I think it's cool that people want to listen to me talk about stuff. But legitimately, I'm over the internet. I'm over technology. I'd be cool to go back to 1975, and I wasn't alive then. But this has gone. I mean, we look at AI. We look at the way our politicians exploit every single thing that they can against the other 330 million Americans. I'm just sick and tired of rich people deciding what goes all the time. Man, just let us watch football. Just let us watch football. Stop arguing over, again, your second or third yacht. It's stupid. It's ridiculous. It's disgusting. Greed is just the only money's the only thing that a lot of people care about anymore. And I've gotten to the point in my own life, we're not even talking about sports anymore. I've gotten to the point in my own life where I care about money so little that, I legitimately just want to be paid enough to pay my bills. The greed of everybody else, especially these Disney executives, YouTube executives, and by all means, if you disagree with whoever you think is right or wrong in the whole thing, feel free to comment on it. I'm telling you, I don't care. All of these TV execs, they're all making all kinds of money, and they just want to make more. And it's disgusting, and I'm over it. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's stupid. This is college football. We're losing the pageantry of the entire thing. And quite frankly, I think fan bases deserve better. I think, especially being a Tennessee fan, since the day Lane Kiffin walked out in the middle of the night, ever since he did that, Tennessee has not been great. They got to the playoffs last year. Hopefully they make a playoff run this year, but it's not looking legitimate, and that's okay. It doesn't look likely. Excuse me, that's a better word. It doesn't look likely, and maybe not. I don't think Tennessee was ever going to be in the playoff this year, but it's been, 15 years now of not so great football. Now, the last few years since Heupel's got here, I think I'm blessed as a Tennessee fan. Ever since he got here, to watch his offense is a lot more fun than whatever Pruitt was trying to do. Just to have him as University of Tennessee football coach makes me happy as a fan. But I think I'd be lying if I told you that the last 15 years were fantastic as a Tennessee fan, because they weren't. They were bad. And I sat there and I watched through every bit of it. Even the basketball teams. Donnie Tyndall was one of the worst coaches I've ever seen. But I sat there and I watched it. And I went to games. I paid money to go to these games. And now it's the rich people that have decided, if you're not going to pay $500 to go sit in Neyland Stadium, you're not going to watch anything. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's disgusting. Greed is one thing that really does bother me. It's a lot of the... I'm not going to get into that. I do have an issue with greed and greedy people. But I'm over it. That was my little rant. I did want to talk about ESPN, YouTube TV. It's just rich people that are just taking advantage of everything that they can for another dime. But again, we're going to move on. We've got a few upcoming games coming up. We've got one Friday game, and this could be huge. Clemson's on the road at Louisville. Now, I don't know if it matters for college football playoff, because I'm not sure if Louisville can still get in or not. And there may be a path for those guys. Clemson will not be at the college football playoff, thank God. And the craziest part about Clemson being so bad is that Dabo Swinney, they're like 4-5 or whatever. Dabo Swinney wants to get up in front of the press conference, in front of the media, and he wants to continue to be mean about it. Dude, you're under 500. Just like any other coach in the country, you have to answer for that. If you were 8-2 or 8-1 or let's say 7-2, you'd have to answer for your 2 losses, just like you get to stand up there and gloat for your 7 or 8 wins. Chill out, Dabo. I think it's crazy how he talks to media. Whatever. Now, on to the Saturday games. Notre Dame at Pittsburgh. That's the early game, 11 a.m. And then Oklahoma at Alabama. That's more of it's the afternoon game. That'll be probably on ESPN if you're willing to pay the $7 billion a month they want for it. Oklahoma at Alabama, 2:30. New Mexico State at Tennessee, 3:15. That'll be the game I watch. I have to go to my biological father's house to watch it because I don't have TV and I'm not willing to pay for it. I don't care. I can't afford it. Y'all live in the same economy I do. It's expensive out here. I'm not going to pay for ESPN. I'm not going to do it. I'll go to his house and watch it. But they come on at 3:15. I'll be there to watch it. Let's Let's see. Oh, Texas at Georgia. Talked about it a little bit. This game could have huge implications. I'm assuming Georgia's going to win this. That's a 6:30 game. I think that would basically knock Texas completely out. Florida at Ole Miss. That's a 6 p.m. game. We'll talk about that one more in a little bit. Foreshadowing there. And then the last thing I wrote down here, this is just because I think I'm funny. UCLA goes on the road at Ohio State. Now, UCLA's quarterback, he played at the Shoe last year. So, Nico and the Bruins, I think Ohio State was like 30-point favorites. It may have been more. I don't know. But I talked good about Ohio State earlier. Maybe they lose. Now, on to the last little bit of the day. Of course, my lock of the week. I couldn't even remember what my last lock of the week was. That's how long it's been since I've been here. Again, sorry, and thank you guys for watching. But my lock of the week this week, I looked at this number and I thought, man, this is crazy. Florida at Ole Miss. Ole Miss is 15.5-point favorites. Now, of course, I'm doing this on Monday night. We just had a bowling match. I got done with the bowling match, came over to the office, the Dixon Post office. I'm here. I wanted to do this, like I said, first episode in a few weeks. So this is Monday. It could change a lot. I know this usually goes live on Wednesday. The numbers could change a lot between now and when they play. But as of right now, 15.5 for Ole Miss is a lot. Because Florida knows that this year's kind of done for them. But everybody loves to play the team that ruins your season. And 15.5 points is a lot to beat the Florida Gators by. Maybe I say that as a Tennessee fan, and it was always hard for us to beat them, especially like 17 years straight or whatever. I will never not hate Steve Spurrier. Just kidding. I don't hate anybody. I will never not dislike Steve Spurrier. But that's all I've got for this week. We're gonna take the lock of the week. I'm gonna take Florida because I don't think Ole Miss is gonna beat them by 16 points. I just don't see it. 13, maybe 14, maybe. Watch it be 17, and I'm always wrong. But thank you guys for coming and hanging out with me. Sorry I missed the last few weeks. I did have a medical thing. If that matters to any of y'all, it may not even be important, but I wasn't able to do it, and I'm sorry. But thank y'all for coming back and checking it out. And y'all have a wonderful evening. Go try to find somewhere to watch football games on Saturday, and then we'll talk about it next week. See y'all later.